I want to congratulate you and We the World on the 20th anniversary of 11 days of global unity. Together, you, me, and we can create a better world and have fun doing it.
Thank you, Dr. Jane Goodell, for helping We the World and all our partners to celebrate over 20 years of 11 Days of Global Unity. And thank you for joining us. Welcome to the 11 Days of Global Unity Summit. My name is Birgit Ben-Eli, and I'm the Director of Strategic Engagement and International Outreach for We the World. For today, our host is Dr. Nabaneeta Rupta, and I'm excited that we will be joined by our special guest, Subrata Banerjee, who will be talking about advancing feminist principles in the Asia-Pacific through international policy for the theme Women of the 11 Days of Global Unity. For the full 11 days schedule, you can register for free by going to 11daysofglobalunity.org. That's the numeral 11. There you will find access to all the 11 days broadcasts. You can also visit we.net to take action with the 11 campaigns for change, subscribe to Trans Magazine, and you can support this global work by contributing at we.net/donate. A heartfelt thank you to all of you who make this possible. Before we bring on our speaker, I'd like to take a moment to acknowledge some of our incredible partners who we support and collaborate with during the 11 Days of Global Unity and throughout the year. The UN International Day of Peace NGO Committee, Peace Day Philly, the Unite for Peace Coalition, including Unity Earth, the Sign Network, One World, and Hubcast Media. The Awakening World, We the World, May Peace Prevail on Earth International, United Religions Initiative, Pathways to Peace, Global Silent Minute, Children of the Earth, Climate Week, the Deep and Rapid Transformation Convergence, Good News Broadcast in Times Square, and Pace e Bene Nonviolence Campaign. Together, these groups represent millions of people working to achieve global unity and peace. This movement is a living example of what becomes possible when we act from interdependence, compassion, and shared purpose, all working with We the World and the We campaign at we.net. Let's bring on our host, Dr. Nabaneeta Rupta. Welcome. Dr. Nabaneeta Rupta is a development professional with over 20 years of experience advancing climate resilience, sustainable water, natural resource management, and environmental policy in India. She has led multiple sectoral programs, built complex partnerships, and translated research into action, bridging policy and practice of the highest level. Dr. Rupta has worked with National Ministry, Niti Aayog, state governments, the Indian Council of Agriculture Research, UN agencies, bilateral donors such as USAID, GIZ, and FCDO, and multilateral banks, including the World Bank, JICA, and ADB. Their expertise spans system thinking, program governance, and building inclusive, high-performing teams. Recognized by multiple ministries for her leadership, she has scaled transformative community-based interventions across climate, water, sanitation, nutrition, and livelihoods. She has also been honored for pioneering evidence-driven approaches that strengthen climate-resilient development in India's most remote forest-fringe communities. Thank you so much and welcome, Nabaneeta.
Thank you, Birgit, for introducing me. I'd like to introduce today's speaker and the topic. So today we will be discussing advancing feminist principle in the Asia Pacific through international policy. So we will be discussing the challenges and pathway of advancing feminist principles. And let me introduce the speaker of today. Please join me to introduce welcome Mr. Banerjee. Mr. Banerjee is an accomplished international development and public policy specialist. He has over 18 years of significant experience in leading and managing, designing and implementing gender-transformative programs and path-breaking research on gender equality under the auspices of European Union, Planet National Gender Equality Policy Advice to national governments, and collaborated and worked with numerous UN missions, example UNDP, World Bank, UNICEF, UN Women, UNIFEM, WHO, etc. He has supported and mentored national government of Asia regional countries to develop national policy framework for gender equality and human endowment, gender equality, women empowerment, gender and climate justice, social protection. He has also addresses gender-based violence, gender mainstreaming in laws, policies, and institutional practices. He has extensive experience in capacity building to strengthen local government governing systems, decentralized planning, strategic implementation, ensuring gender and climate justice in disaster risk reduction. He has also worked in gender mainstreaming in laws, policies, programs, institutions, etc. He has significant experience in conducting gender audit and analysis, advocacy, stakeholder engagement, facilitation, participatory research, monitoring, evaluation, addressing gender-based violence as per ISSC guidelines. He also has extensive experience in PCM, RBM, result frameworks, research, capacity building, developing tools and apply system thinking to address systemic challenges for collective well-being. He has also experience in recognizing the cutting-edge research, evidence-based policy making, policy analysis, mentoring gender equality policy reforms of national government, strong leadership, facilitation, and communication and presentation skills. So let's welcome Mr. Banerjee, and he will be discussing the topic of the day. Mr. Banerjee.
Thank you, Nabaneeta, for introducing me, and I am very glad to be part of this kind of today's discussion. It's one of the most important discussions, and we will go through not each and every part of this issue and challenges, especially in regard to advancing feminist principles in Asia Pacific region. It's a vast subject matter. We'll be focusing on very important and main points of these issues, and we will wrap up the discussion. So when we are talking about feminist principles, we are talking about the principles and the areas of concern, ideas and thoughts in which women and men, boys and girls will be treated equally in all aspects of social, economic, political life in society. While we are talking about feminist principles, it is centering around four pillars. Four pillars is extremely important in regard to this kind of idea. One is gender equality. Number two is women's economic empowerment, which is extremely important. And another is freedom from violence, that is gender-based violence. And the fourth is advancing women's participation, active role, leadership, equal leadership in peace process and security. But why we are talking about gender equality? Because there is extreme level of gender inequalities in all societies, in either in underdeveloped or developed countries. In every society, there are some kind of challenges facing by girls and women in society. That is why we needed to change the situation, because when all the people are joining their hands and they participate in education and employment, the improvement of the economy is always be there. And challenges of this kind of poverty, inequality is reduced to a significant aspect, significant number. So in that respect, we are talking about gender equality. Why we are talking about women's economic empowerment? Because women are lagging far, far, far behind men in terms of not only education, but also gainful employment. Why we are talking about gainful employment? Because when you are getting some reward, gainful reward from doing some work outside of your home, it is called gainful employment. So gainful employment gives women not only the money or the financial security, but also gives her the status within the society and gives her required respectability within the society, which is extremely important for bringing about change in gender inequality in society. And we are talking about freedom from gender-based violence. Gender-based violence, one of the very critical issues and challenges we are facing today globally. And most of the countries they are facing because of the challenges of patriarchy, the challenges of systemic exploitation, the challenge of society, challenge of deep structure of society, the challenges of unequal power relations and power dynamics within the society. So it creates a lots of problems for our society, for the development and the progressive movements in any culture, in any society. So when we are talking about gender equality, we should be thinking about the equal rights and opportunities for all, as we have been talking about equal opportunities and access to resources for boys and girls, men and women in society equally, so that because each and every woman, each and every girl deserve this kind of rights, deserve to enjoy these kinds of rights as human being. So when we are talking about women's economic empowerment, we must be aware about it, that this is one kind of rights we are talking about it, to make their choices fulfilled in terms of their resources, in terms of accessibility of resources, in terms of the control over their lives, in terms of access to resources, influence social change. Because when women they are educated, when a woman is employed and engaged in the gainful employment and taking part actively in the decision-making process, there is every chance for the change in society. So changing in society, social norms are extremely important in removing such kind of obstacles of gender equality in any society. When you are talking about gender-based violence, that means we want to end this extremely problematic issues and challenges we are facing today. And gender-based violence is a complete violation of human rights against women's rights. So women's rights are also human rights. UN agencies, UN missions, in every aspects of their policies and programs, they're mentioning this categorically, that women's rights are also human rights, that we need to respect, we need to protect, and we need to promote these ideals in all spheres of our life. We are talking about economic and social justice. When we are talking about the economic social justice, we are thinking about the transforming of the economic system that is existing and how it should be equitable just for each and everybody, for boys and girls and for men and women in society. Because if economic system treat differently boys, girls and women in a system, it will hamper economic justice, it will hamper economic rights, financial inclusion of women for the better development of a society. So that is why we are talking about that the changes required in the legal systems, legal framework of society, as well as the policies and programs and institutional values, which is extremely important in managing, in promoting women's rights, promoting women's rights and gender equality in society. At the same time, we are also talking about strategic leadership of women. It is extremely important because without having any strategic equal leadership, representation of women in local governing systems to parliament, there will not be any kind of women empowerment. There will be not be any kind of gender equality in society, because policy does not support, policy always not ensure women's equal access to resources, women's equal leadership role in society, because it is extremely important that they will be involved in politics, they will be taking membership in politics, they will be involved in election processes, they will be winning elections, they will be representing country as well as women and the most vulnerable sections of the society, so that policies will be changed in favor of women and the vulnerable section of society. This is extremely important. Their political participation in all the decision-making processes of society. And now we are trying to understand that what we called it feminist foreign policy and feminist principles, advancing feminist principles and foreign policy. So advancing feminist principles, it talks about, especially in regard to Asia-Pacific region, to apply feminist principles in the foreign policy matters, international policy matters. Why we are talking about international policy, why we are emphasizing this kind of issues today? Because as we see that not only at the ground level, at the family, at the community, at the societal level, at the state level, and as well as at the international level, in every state, in every stages, we find gender inequality is there, and women's voice are reduced to a negligible number, and women don't have any chance to represent the this kind of policy and leadership role in society, in politics, economy, society, and parliament. So that creates a problems for all of us. And at the same time, we need to be understand that feminist foreign policy is a framework that need to understand several kind of things like intersectionality in terms of gender equality. We need to understand critical issues of traditional patriarchy, because traditional society has a high-handedness of culture of patriarchy. And at the same time, we need to understand the power structure, unequal power relations between men and women in society, between boys and girls in society. And at the same time, it also promote intersectional approach to gender equality. As we see that many advanced countries like Canada, Sweden, Australia, Norway, Denmark, they already have adopted foreign policy issues. Understand they always focusing on feminist principles in the foreign policy matters. So they not only change the policy, they're practically bringing women in the policy making agenda, and they also push and making it sure that each and everybody, their representation will be equal, and they will be equally talking about their role and responsibilities, and they will be equally talking about their interest in foreign policy matters, because foreign policy is extremely important in dealing with many things in society, like economy, like in trade and business, like intellectual property rights, many things, I mean, in education as well as public health issues. So these are extremely important in managing and promoting these foreign policy principles, this foreign policy, feminist foreign policy principles in international relations as well as international policy matters. And in that regard, we have to be very much careful about it, that we need to understand differently Asian context in regard to the Western concept of Western context of foreign policy and feminist principles of foreign policy. So now it is extremely important in that respect that we need to understand lots of things about the history, the colonial history. India suffered 200 years of colonial subjugation, domination, exploitation, and oppressive rules. And these oppressive rules reduced India. India, before 200 years, India was one of the richest country in the world during that period of time. But after the oppressive rules of 200 years, India reduced to one of the poverty-ridden poorest country in the world, in the third world. So it was extremely difficult for India, for many other countries of Africa and many other countries of other regions who have suffered extremely in the hands of colonial rulers. So this is extremely challenging, that we need to understand the situation, and we have to specify the issues and challenges and the and to relevant issues and important challenges of Asia as well as the area of Africa as well. And the in that regard, as we know, that the diversity is extremely high within Asia, also within India region. And while we are talking about Asia region, there are millions of language, millions of language, cultural culture and values, different kinds of values and cultures, different kinds of understanding, religious faith, and many other things. We are very diverse and heterogeneous country. And in that context, we need to realign and make it relevant for the feminist principles that we are talking about, especially in the context of Asia. In respect to international intersectionality, we have to understand again here intersectional approach to gender equality. Because without this, we can't understand either domestic policy, we will not understand the foreign policy of a country. These are extremely important to understand intersectionality in all aspects of gender inequality. At the same time, we need to understand how to transform the policies, programs, laws, legal frameworks of the country in which we are working. Maybe in India, maybe in Africa, maybe in Indonesia, maybe in Philippines, maybe in Bangladesh, maybe in Rwanda, Burundi, or Tanzania. So in every society, in every culture, we need to understand their system, situation, their policies, programs, as well as the various barriers, not only policy barriers, but institutional barriers, systemic barriers, challenges they are facing to implement and to improve the situations of women and the situation of gender equality in society. And in this respect, we have to understand also that we have to embrace the diversity. As we say that within Asia, there's a huge diversity, heterogeneity within each and every society and cultures. So in that respect, we have to be very much aware about it. When there is a diversity, we have to be very much aware about the pluralism, principles of pluralism. We have to be aware about it that we have already taken non-alignment approach, multiple and multilateralism approach in diplomacy and peace building in every aspects of our polity, society, and economic dealings. So India has already taken non-alignment policy since the very beginning of its, after the independence. There are lots of international issues, challenges during that time. And in that time, since then, India has been talking about non-alignment. But situation has changed since 2014 because of the change in the policies and programs. Because overnight, there's a shifting of democracy replacing by a violent, brutal dictatorship in India. And that creates a larger problems. When there is no democracy, there is no development. When there is no democracy, there is no women empowerment, there is no economic security. India's economic situation extremely poor situation because of the problems and the policies and the political system, change in political system at the ground level as well as at the national level. So we need to be understood in that respect. At the same time, we need to understand intersectionality is very, very clearly that we need to be very much careful about the problems and challenges of patriarchy, structural inequality, political tyranny, systemic exploitation, power dynamics, women's low dignity in society, and women's lack of access to resources and control over lack of access to and control over resources that intersect with age, sex, and age, sex, gender in any society. So this is one kind of critical problems that we are facing. We have to remove this problem. We have to address this problem to understand the critical situation that we are facing today. In regard to the, as we have total overall understanding of the situation of foreign policy, that feminist principles of foreign policy. And in this respect, if we want to implement principles of feminist foreign policy in our international policies, programs, that we need to be confident about our few specific strategies. They are gender responsive policy. What is gender responsive policy? Gender responsive policy is nothing but one kind of public policy that will create a space for each and everyone, for men and women, boys and girls. Each and everybody will be taking part of it. Each and everybody will be able to understand the situation and enjoy the rights of their own self, being as a male or female, or in any part of gender issues. And in that respect, women's participation in the decision-making process is extremely important. And in that respect, we have to be very much careful about it, structure of women's, strengthening women's leadership. Social, economic, political, and cultural aspect and policy formulation, in all aspects, women should be taking lead role and taking equal leadership role. Otherwise, nothing could happen. Because right at the moment, you will see that there are some changes in the policies in different countries, especially in Scandinavian countries. Women are taking a lead role in many aspects, side by side with men. So this is good, reflections of their understanding, their principles, and their goodwill, political will that they want to do in course of time for the best interests of gender equality in their society. And at the same time, we need to address barriers of systemic barriers, systemic challenges, systemic operation of society. Because of systemic challenges, system will not allow you to do work, certain kind of work in favor of gender equality, in favor of women empowerment issues. So this is extremely important. So we have policies, we have a lots of good things. We have one of the best policies in the world about gender equality, but we are not taking care about it. We are ignoring about it, and we are refusing to accept, we are refusing to implement them in real practical work. That is most important. What is doing by the Scandinavian countries, we have to learn from them a lot of things. In their perspective about gender equality, they are implementing in their foreign policy as well as domestic policy as well. And at the same time, we have to be partner with civil society organization, because they'll be supporting us, they'll be supporting government, supporting public authority, supporting the institutions to build up the idea, to build up the institutions that will be supporting principles of feminist principles of foreign policy, feminist principles and policy of domestic in the domestic area. So we need to be very much aware about it, about the role and responsibilities of the civil society. There we will be working as partners. At the same time, we will be working with the youth, because youth are extremely important in the leadership role. So youth will be involved in feminist principles. We will be giving them training. They will be nurturing, and they will be taking lead role in establishing the feminist principles of foreign policy, feminist principles in domestic policy, so that gender equality can be seen in the reality. At the same time, we have critical challenges of critical challenges of dictatorship in today's world. Across many countries, we see that overnight dictatorship challenged and brutally replaced and violently replaced the democratic system. So without democratic system, as we said, there will not be any kind of development. The democracy is favorable to development, democracy favorable to peace, democracy favorable to women's empowerment, democracy is favorable about gender equality issues. But when there is a dictatorship, they are against all these issues. So establishing dictatorship, establishing democracy, replacing dictatorship is extremely important in all countries, in all societies, which is extremely important as well, not only for economic, but political, social, cultural, in all aspects of life. At the same time, we need to understand the deep structure of society. As we say, the traditions, culture of Asian society, authoritarianism is deeply embedded in our culture, that we need to understand, and we need to reform it, and we need to recorrect, realign our understanding of the modern world, modern civilization in terms of equity, equality, and social justice for all. And in this regard, we have to be very much careful about it. Another challenging issues are equal access and opportunity for education for women and girls and their employment. If there is no equal access to opportunity for education, employment for girls and women, there will not be equal equality between men and women, and there will not be gender equality in any society. At the same time, we need to understand that there is a deep structure that is that creates a lots of problem in any society, our traditions, culture, that disallow women to take a leadership role, to take decision making within family, within community, within society, within state system, within international bodies. Even today, across many countries, even in UN agencies, whenever they are talking about gender equality, they are not also following up all these principles properly. That is why we see today that there is a call for reform of UN institutions in all respects, policy, programs, and practices also. The practice is extremely important. If you have good policy, it's important, but most important is practice. Without practice, nothing could be happen. Gender equality will not be a reality in future course of time. At the same time, we need to be understand that ensuring women's gainful employment will not be ensured unless until we make it a safe place, create a safe place for women in all workplaces, in all private places, in all public places. Women should be safe, and this kind of safety security will be provided by all of us, institutions, society, political leaders, and all the people, public authority. They will be fully accountable to do this kind of jobs. So in that respect, we can understand, we will be in a position to define and explain that feminist principles of foreign policy, international policy, in terms of our development in respect to gender equality and women empowerment issues. And unless until we do this, we are not be in a position to ensure in a gender equality and women empowerment and feminist principles in foreign policy matters. So that's all. Thank you so much for listening to me. And if there is any question, I'll be happy to respond to that. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Subrata. In fact, a very good presentation you made. We understood from you, and like we also are struggling with many challenges, we understand that Asia Pacific region is very critical because it's the home of half of the world's population. Uh, we discussed and we understood from you that there are persistent gender inequalities despite decades of commitment of to women's right. So still we are facing a lot of challenges. Integrating feminist principles to international policy is now a pressing imperative, right? Not only for equity, but also for peace, sustainability, inclusive growth. It's very important. You discussed about patriarchal norms, you discussed about social resistance in India, you discussed about deep rooted gender norms. Perpetuated discrimination limits women mobility. You talked about marginalized feminist perspective to both policy and practice, right? You also spoke about weak policies, how it is being implemented. The accountability is very low. You talked about gender responsive policies are there, but they are often underfunded. They are symbolic. They are poorly enforced. Many countries lack actually disaggregated data to do gender budgeting frameworks, including India. We really lack disaggregated data to do the gender budgeting frameworks. There is a limited women leadership and representation, including India. So there is very less women in politics, in diplomacy and peace processes. These constraints female feminist agenda, as you very rightly stated, in international decision making spaces. There are also, when I see outside as a woman as well, there are backlashes, there are sinking civil spaces because there are raising conversational political pushbacks, as you also spoke about it, which has led to increased gender-based violence, attacks on LGBTQ population, their rights are violated, restriction on feminist movements. So apart from that, there is also one thing which I like to highlight is the climate crisis and the conflict zones. So women and marginalized groups face disproportionate impacts of climate change and armed conflicts, yet their voice many times remains excluded from climate and security policy making, right? So we discussed about that. I just wanted to understand a few opportunities and pathways, how we can take it forward. Would you like to throw some light on that? The
Tell me
opportunities and
once again.
pathways.
Pathways. So we have already discussed these strategies, key strategies about this, how to overcome this kind of challenges. As you said, the gender responsive policy, gender budgeting is extremely important, as well as the challenges of climate that we are facing today. And as we know that climate change and climate challenges are facing all of us, but it is disproportionately affecting girls and women in different ways. So we need to understand this situation, and we have to taking care of these issues and challenges in that respect. At the same time, as we have told many times that in climate change, as we know that especially in many countries, Africa and Asia regional countries, we see that large number of women, more than 60 to 70% of women, they are involved, engaged in agricultural land work. And more than less than 20% of them, in India, it is only 13% women, they hold the ownership of the land. So it is one kind of highly discriminatory practice and unequal power relations, unequal gender equality, inequality system that we have been observing in India, in Asia, and across many African countries. In African countries, we also see that in some places, in many cases, women are not allowed to do certain kind of business like beekeeping business. And many countries, men are taking over all these kind of charges. But women are very much equally eager to do this kind of business for their own economic development challenges. So we need to be understood this kind of issues. At the same time, we need to understand in diplomatic missions, in diplomatic international missions, in peace process mission, security missions, women are much less and less in their number representing their community. So it is important that women should be equally representing representing in the missions, because women's presentation, women's presence in this particular international forums and negotiation tables will help to not only normalize the situation, not only diffuse the conflict, but also sustain the peace process in different ways. So it is extremely important for developing this kind of idea, giving women equal chance, equal leadership role in this kind of problems and issues. And in that respect, we are talking about agriculture. We have already talking about civil society. As we said, that civil society space are shrinking every day. And without civil society, no government can do anything. We can see that not only in India, but a large number of Asian countries, after they have coming out from the exploitative rule of British rule, and only this is the role of NGO and their support, their expertise, and unwavering support of civil society organization that help the countries to develop their own. So in India, case of India, most of the cases you will find that whatever the development we see experience today, in large cases that civil society organizations contributions. So we have to be very much careful about it. We have to be given freedom to all the people, including men, women, as well as civil society organization. At the same time, it is also true that violence against women is sparked all of a sudden in last 5 to 10 years time. Why? Because this is directly linked to the emergence of dictatorship across many countries in Asia, across many other countries. So dictatorship is one of the dangerous and one of the most critical things that not only endorsing and encouraging and patronizing this kind of violence against women. So this is strengthening the patriarchy, harmful patriarchy in all society that need to be stopped. Another thing is critical challenges that we are facing today, deep social structure. We need to change this kind of things. We need to change the patriarchal understanding of society, their attitude, their culture, and their orientation values in towards the women. So it takes lots of time, but it is not impossible. I think lots of training is important to be needed in that regard, and campaign need to be organized. At the same time, I'll give you one information in regard to the discrimination of women in the employment sector. In one organization, I have seen that observe that out of three people, there was one woman, and they are not the women was really good at the interview, and she had done a very good job, but she was not given the chance to get the appointment letter, because they think the male dominated society thinks they, after getting the job, she will be getting married, and after getting married, she will be pregnant, and after getting pregnant, she will be taking leave, and this maternity leave will be 5 to 6 months time. So they don't have any, they will not spend any time to leave this position for a longer period of time. So it is better to have a male in the office, or instead of a women. So this very critical idea, very critical problems, complex problems of patriarchy. So we need to hammer out these kind of challenges, and we have to reduce this. We have to promote the women empowerment in reducing this kind of challenges. At the same time, we have to be very much careful about it, that we have been talking about safe workplace for women. So without safety and security in the public places, workplaces, women cannot be working. So it is important that women should be safe, secured in all places, in public places, family, community, society, in all respect. So these are the key areas and key strategies that we can see to reduce and to address the challenges of gender inequality in policy and programs. Thank you.
Thank you. Actually, thank you, Subrata. Very nicely you have put it forward. So now I would like to hand over to Brigitte. Brigitte, could you please conclude that?
Thank you so much to both of you. Hold on a second. Oh. Sorry about that. Thank you so much to both of you for this amazing presentation, Subrata, especially to you. And I also remember the last we had from you, Nabaneeta. These are such important topics to discuss, and especially, you know, for people who are outside the Asia Pacific area. I think many of them might not be aware of how the reality looks like, and that there are challenges which look different than, you know, in other parts of the world. We are promoting, but just to close here, which we have to, unfortunately, we're promoting the hashtag urgency for action. That's urgency, the number 4, and then action, hashtag urgency for action. And we're using that for all of our activities. And just to conclude here with the two of you, how would you like how would you like people to take action? Is there something to look ahead, you know, what you would like to see that, you know, immediately can be done or addressed by everyone who's watching this, by a general person who might not necessarily be involved, you know, in policies? We know how important that is, but we also know, and I think Jane Goodall said it very much, and I know she didn't say it here, but she said it in one of the interviews, which was part of the outro and intro here, how, you know, even if we are not involved on governmental levels, there's still something we can do, right? And so I'm just addressing this to both of you for your call to action of what you think, you know, we can do to advance feminist principles in the Asia Pacific and beyond, but in your context, obviously, for the Asia Pacific. Would you like to say something, Subrata? Would you like to start?
Yes, thank you so much for for the another issues and calling about the action points as we said that there are challenges that we are facing. Challenges are manifold. Thousands of challenges are there, especially when you are talking about gender issues, gender inequality issues globally. But while we are talking about Asia Pacific region, some of the challenges, some of the issues are very much common. I think that would be very much focused on. That I think it is important, first of all, that women should be given equal leadership role, equal representation in policy development, policy making, and parliament, from local governing system to parliament. India, you can say across many countries, even in African countries, Rwanda, Burundi, Tanzania, women are leading the leadership role in parliament. I think in Rwanda, it's around more than 80%. 80%. Burundi is around that. Tanzania has a very good numbers of women leadership. And the thing is that what is the changes they have made? They have made lots of changes every day. So bringing new ideas, bringing new challenges, and bringing the protection of women in their policies, programs, and closing the gaps of gender policy, gaps of policy in gender, and they are developing the universal system of policy programs so that each and every policy and programs can serve everybody, cutting across gender, race, and everything. So this is very, very important that women's equal representation and leadership role is extremely important at all levels. I would say it's not 13% or 30%. I would say more than 50% women should be in the leadership role. So in India, the critical challenges is that even if there is a policy of 30%, and there are earlier there was some policy that favoring women to come to politics, but lots of women who are coming to politics, men are not allowing them to raise their voice against the policy, developing the policy, and implementing the policy, and their role is very much minimal in all respect, even in parliament. Even in today's world, I am telling you that from local governments and Indian parliament, women's role are very much negligible, and they are ignored in all respects of policy making.
Yeah.
So that needs to be changed. Number two is important is systematic barriers. Systems is given a lots of problems. It's not in the policy. If we have the good policy, the system does not work. If we are forcing the system to do this kind of things, they are not doing anything, and they are refusing to do any kind of things because of the challenges and oppressive role of the systems. Systems need to be changed. Another thing is very much important that dictatorship must be replaced with democracy. Without democracy, no sustainable development, no improvement of women can be seen. In every country, not only in India, but also in other countries, democracy must be there to improve the conditions of women, to improve the women's chance in the to establish feminist principles in domestic as well as foreign policy issues. At the same time, we have to be very much careful about it, partnership of civil society and other groups of people, because civil society space is sinking every day, as we have seen, because of the dictatorship. So when civil society are there supporting the policy, supporting the implementation, supporting the strategy, it will be wonderful for all of us to share equal prosperity, to share equal future of all men and women, boys and girls in society. So these are extremely important that need to be taken care of as action points. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you so much, Subrata. Nabaneeta, would you like to add?
Yeah, actually, a little bit, because see, advancing feminist principles in international policy across Asia Pacific requires structural change. intersectional understanding, and cross-sectoral collaborations. So what that means, which means that we have to embed feminist lens across diplomacy, trade, peace, and climate policies. Apart from that, we have to invest systematically in budgets, data, and institutions so that it is holded properly. See, amplifying women's leadership and grassroots voices is very important and call to action for us. I also feel that it's not enough to declare gender equality as a goal. It must be operationalized and sustained commitment, inclusive design, and accountability. Unless we do that, we will not be able to achieve that. This is what I feel. Thank you.
Yeah, I appreciate, Nabaneeta. I appreciate both of your voices, and I must say, Subrata, you gave a great example with Rwanda, right? They're an example of political and systematic changes, how they implemented, global leaders into the women leaders into their political environment, parliamentary representation, legislative power, economic empowerment, leadership in banking, so on and so forth. I think they're a fantastic example. And I agree with you, it's not enough grassroots, but it's yet important, because the problem is, the hardest is often to change, policies and change systems, right? So, but I agree, we have to change the roof under which we live. I absolutely agree. We have to maintain democracies, and we have to empower women, make their voices heard, put them in leadership position, and change these structural inequalities. I absolutely agree with both of you. So thank you so much for joining us here today. Thank you so much, Subrata, for the really, really important and in-depth presentation. And I want to mention here at the very end, the We Power campaign. It's about the power of we, and millions of us coming together to transform our society. So it prioritizes the common good. And to help us launch the We Power campaign, please go to we.net/We Power campaign. So again, to both of you, especially Subrata, for your presentation now, thank you so much for being here. You both remind us how important it is to create changes on every level, and especially systematic and on a political level. And so thank you again for hosting, Nabaneeta. Thank you for being our guest, Subrata, and thank you all for watching this and for being part of the 11 Days of Global Unity. To get involved, go to we.net. So it's all about how that's why our founder created this. It's all about we. So going from a me society, I have to find the camera here, to a we society. That's why Rick Olfig, our founder, launched we.net, so we can together create a world that works for all. So thank you so much. Love to everyone for watching this, and we will.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.